Hello everybody, welcome back to another YouTube video. We're going to be here with Ryan.
Yes, sir. We are back with a brand new video. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to let Madden predict the next 30 Super Bowl champions. So, yeah, the reason why we're doing this video is because of Super Bowl Sunday.
All right, let's get into this. Wow, so for our first Super Bowl, we have the Broncos beating the Lions. Wow. Broncos getting their fourth Super Bowl win, and Greenlaw MVP. Wow. And for normal MVP in the league, we have Joe Burrow. All right, let's get on to the next one, guys.
Okay, for our second sim, we have the Lions going back to back, but this time winning the Super Bowl, the Lions' first ever Super Bowl, and Super Bowl MVP goes to Aiden Hutchinson, and Joe Burrow went back-to-back MVPs.
All right, let's go to the next one. Wow, so Rams win, and Cam Ward takes the Titans to the playoffs. That's shocking. I think this is Matthew Stafford's second ring, unless he retired. I have no clue if he's retired yet. But the MVP was Josh Allen. This is the Rams' third Super Bowl, and Gerard Verse got the MVP for the Super Bowl. All right, on to the next one.
For our next Super Bowl matchup, we have the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. They're two-time Super Bowl champions. Super Bowl MVP goes to Hurts, and Joe Burrow wins his third MVP.
Joe Burrow, 3 MVPs. That's crazy.
All
right, on to the next one.
During the next Super Bowl, we have the Falcons winning their first ever Super Bowl, 13-10. Super Bowl MVP, we have Michael Penix Jr. And MVP Joe Burrow again. He's won his fourth MVP.
And I'm shocked Trevor Lawrence finally made it to his first Super Bowl. Wow. All right, on to the next one.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Joe Burrow, guys. 5 MVPs. Lions win a Super Bowl over the Texans. Texans finally make the Super Bowl. Lions 2 Super Bowls, and Dewani Gordon Super Bowl MVP. No clue who that is, but we're going to be seeing that a lot towards the years we go up. Yeah, he probably did. All right, on to the next one.
Yeah.
Wow, so we have Joe Burrow getting his 6th MVP. We have the Raiders versus the Cowboys, and the Cowboys end up winning it. That's shocking. I never would have expected this Super Bowl, honestly. Yeah. Jordan James gets the Super Bowl MVP again. No clue who that is, but we're going to see that a lot. And the Cowboys get their 6th Super Bowl to tie the Patriots and the Steelers. All right, on to the next one.
Wow, again, Joe Burrow with 7 MVPs. Oh, my God. For our Super Bowl matchup, the Bills won their first ever Super Bowl.
And the Cowboys
against the Cowboys made it back-to-back. And the Bills Super Bowl MVP is BJ Ojulari.
Yeah, we don't know his name. All right, on to the next one. Wow, finally, Joe Burrow is not MVP. Goodness gracious.
Yep.
Raiders. Wow. Raiders beat Jordan Love in the Super Bowl? That's crazy. So the Raiders get their 4th Super Bowl, and Joey McLeod, Super Bowl MVP. All right, on to the next one.
Wow. So Joe Burrow retired because Chase Ward won
but,
MVP.
Hey, Ryan, but another Bengals QB got MVP, though. Wow.
Yeah. Zach Taylor must be doing something. Yeah. Well, yep. This for our Super Bowl, the Saints won their 2nd ever Super Bowl over the Chargers, and the Saints MVP for the Super Bowl is Joey Sadastin.
All right, on to the next one. Wow, so 49ers finally get a ring in the 20th century, and it's over my Jets. That's pretty shocking. Chase Ward gets MVP. Again, Bengals QB. I think that's like 9 or 10 in total. That's crazy. And the 49ers get 6 rings now, 6 Super Bowl. And Mikel Williams is the MVP for the 49ers for the Super Bowl. All right, on to the next one.
For our next Super Bowl, we have the Raiders winning their 5th Super Bowl. They're almost tied with the 49ers and the Steelers. Their MVP was Joey McLeod, and the MVP, once again, Chase Ward. All
right, on to the next one. Oh, so the Bengals finally make their Super Bowl appearance in this video, but they end up losing to the Rams. Brad Spitzler gets the MVP. Another new Bengals QB, though. New one, but another Bengals QB. This is absurd. How many Bengals QBs are getting MVPs? But the Rams win their 4th Super Bowl, and QB Morgan Walker gets the Super Bowl MVP. All right, on to the next one.
So for our next Super Bowl, we have the Bills winning their second Super Bowl against the Giants.
Wow.
Jackson Dart made his first full appearance.
Yeah, he's getting close to retirement.
MVP was Evan Doles, I think. And the MVP and the NFL MVP from the Cardinals is Hugh Desshire, I think.
All right, on to the next one. So the Dolphins and Eagles both make their first appearances. Eagles end up winning and getting their third Super Bowl. MVP for the year goes to Josh Tanley. I think it's Tanley, whatever.
Yeah.
And then
Tanley.
Martez Friedman gets the Super Bowl MVP, a safety. Wow. All right, on to the next one.
Next Super Bowl, the Falcons beat the Bills, and the Falcons have won their second Super Bowl. The Super Bowl MVP was Devontae Carmichael, and the MVP was Hugh Desshire again for the NFL.
All right, on to the next one. Wow, Ryan.
For our next Super Bowl, we have my Seattle Seahawks beating the Browns. The Seahawks have claimed their second Super Bowl title. The Super Bowl MVP is Tony Estrada, and the NFL MVP is Ty Walker.
I'm more shocked that the Browns got in here, but yeah, on to the next one.
Yeah. For our next Super Bowl, we have my Hawks again.
Wait, Ryan, wait. I just want to say something. I hope this is a score on Sunday. All right, go ahead.
Yes. But we have my Seahawks again for the third Super Bowl. Let's go. The Super Bowl MVP is Antonio Lynch, and the NFL MVP is Sam Howell.
All right, on to the next one.
On to the next one.
Wow, so we have the Ravens making their first appearance and winning, beating the Cowboys.
Wow.
Shocked that the Cowboys are in here again. But MVP, we have Ty Walker from the Bears. And then this is the Ravens' third Super Bowl. Nice. And then Clayton Young wins Super Bowl MVP for the Ravens. All right, on to the next one.
And also, for our next Super Bowl, we have the Ravens going back-to-back, this time beating the Niners. The Baltimore Ravens are four-time Super Bowl champions. Super Bowl MVP was Clayton Young.
Back-to-back MVP.
And the NFL MVP was Evan Doing.
All right, on to the next one. Wow, so the Falcons end up winning again, their third Super Bowl here on this video, shockingly. Marcus Jenkins, MVP for the Jets. Wow, all right.
Yes.
Wayne Smithson gets the MVP for the Super Bowl. All right, on to the next one.
For our next Super Bowl, we have the Dallas Cowboys reaching their seventh Super Bowl officially.
Bengals are in it again.
The most Super Bowls by every team. So the Cowboys have the most Super Bowls now. The Cowboys MVP is Travion Eldridge, and the MVP was Ryan Leslie.
All right, on to the next one. Wow, so we have, I think, the most rematch Super Bowl yet. So far in this video, if I'm not mistaken. But the Packers QB won MVP, Ryan Lindsay, I think, my goodness, I can't talk. 5 rings for the Ravens, 5 Super Bowls. And then Ravens QB Brad Splitzer won the MVP for the Super Bowl. All right, on to the next one.
For our next Super Bowl, we have the Green Bay Packers running the 5th Super Bowl against the Colts.
Colts' first appearance
the
in this video,
for this game. The MVP for this game was Bryce Rogers, and the MVP in the NFL was Pat Webster. On to the next one.
We have the Commanders' first appearance in this video. Broncos might be up there for the most appearances in here, maybe besides the Packers and Cowboys. Wow. So, but anyways, the Broncos is their 5th Super Bowl. Their full safety or free safety, Parker Haynes won the MVP for the Super Bowl. And then Eshawn McQueen won the MVP for the NFL season. All right, on to the next one.
For our next Super Bowl, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beating the Chiefs for the 3rd ever Super Bowl. The Super Bowl MVP was Jose Roman, and the MVP was Tony Cabrera.
All right, on to the last 3 Super Bowls. Wow, so the Bengals won their first Super Bowl.
Wow, it took them until 2050.
Wow, that's crazy. Super Bowl MVP, Blaine Benedict. And then MVP for the regular season, Bryce Rogers of the Packers. All right, on to the next one.
Our next Super Bowl, we have the 49ers winning their 7th Super Bowl, tying them with the Cowboys.
Wow, Steelers made their first appearance finally in this video. Took them a while.
Yeah, finally. Yeah. The 49ers Super Bowl MVP was Gabe Estrada, and the MVP was Bryce Rogers for the Bills. On to the last Super Bowl.
Yes, alright, let's get into it. Alright, we have finally hit Super Bowl 30. And the Packers have won it against the Ravens, alright. Packers 6th Super Bowl.
Yep.
Probably most appearances in this video in the Super Bowl, maybe besides the Cowgirls.
Yeah.
But we have Isaac Hamlin winning the MVP for the Super Bowl. And then Lions QB Darren Madden winning the regular season MVP. Alright.
Darren Madden.
We hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.